Good morning everyone. In my last video I showed you our home here in Mijas Costa near Marbella, but I didn't really explain to you why we're even considering early retirement here. And it's quite simple really. I think we've both just had enough and we were really struggling with burnout. I think like a lot of people, we were on this hamster wheel of life of working, saving and dealing with family. And I think over time, all these little stresses in life were just piling on and piling on and piling on. And then you suddenly one day find yourself at breaking point, feeling like I can't do this anymore. There must be something else. There must be another way. And for me in particular, when I look back now at how burnout affected me, it was extreme fatigue, which was probably also partly perimenopause, because I do know I am going through that, and that is often a symptom. But also the lack of motivation to, when I did have energy to do anything. I used to go to the gym all the time. My work schedule was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And in my 2 weeks off, I would keep on top of the gardening, keep on top of house maintenance, reorganise. And I liked doing those things. And I got to the point where I would really look forward to coming home from work, because I actually worked away. I would really look forward to coming home from work, and then when I get there, I couldn't face doing those things. I would find myself just walking around in circles and then thinking, oh, I can't wait to go back to work, and having this constant cycle of the grass is greener somewhere else. And because my husband was struggling as well at the same time, we couldn't help each other. There was none of that. What we'd normally do is, you know, we've been together a long time and we've both had periods of feeling down or stress, whether it's stress from family or stress from work. And you've always got your partner usually to prop you up in that. And we were both struggling so much that we couldn't help each other. For me, when I'm feeling something's off or something's not right, I like to zoom out of our picture of our life and our circumstances and say, right, what can we do to make this better? Because doing the same thing again and again and again, just getting up, going to work, me working away, coming home. And because when I was coming home, I wasn't able to do the things I would normally do. Like I say, keep on top of the garden, keep on top of house maintenance. Every time I came home, those things were worse. And so that made me feel worse. So I got to the point where we need to stop and something has to change, because this isn't getting any better. Whereas my husband's way of dealing with things is not dealing with them. It's put his head down and keep going. Get up, go to work, come home. Get up, go to work, come home, and ignore everything else that's going on around us. And I can't do that. So I thought, if I can come up with a plan that then I can sit him down and say, right, I think this is what we should try. And initially it was just, let's just take a year off. Early retirement didn't really come into it because I wasn't thinking that big. I was just thinking, this needs to stop. We need a break. How are we going to do it? And just by sitting down and saying, right, what's the bare minimum amount of money we need to live on just for a year, bare minimum. So we needed to have enough money that we could support ourselves and pay our bills for a year. So we said, right, we're going to save up, and then by X date, which happened to be June 2025, that's the goal. We're going to both walk away from work and take a year off and just try and get ourselves back on track. You know, we have people who rely on us, we have parents, we have children who we need to be able to be there for. And I could see that we were just mentally running ourselves into the ground. Even just making that plan and putting that date in the diary made us feel better. It definitely made me feel better. It made my husband a bit stressed because he's never been out of work in his life. He's worked since he was 16 years old. He's now 53. And although on paper, if we'd hit our savings goal, we could do it, the reality of stepping away from work, I think, really scared him. It didn't scare me because I thought at the end of the day, we're both very employable, and if it all goes wrong, or if it all goes right and at the end of the year we have to go back to work, then I know we'll be able to find jobs. Now we've been off work it's September, middle of September, so I actually finished beginning of May, and my husband didn't finish until the end of June. We've been off a few months now, and the thought of going back to work isn't exciting. So now we're thinking, could we do this? A lot of things will have to change if we retire early. We'll have to sell our house in the UK and downsize. Our family home in the UK has always been, in our minds, a pension, part of our pension, because we knew that when we were older and the children had left home, we wouldn't need such a big house. So I had to move my mic, it was causing me problems. What was I saying? Yes, so this year is an experiment for early retirement as well. We also, part of this year is about looking after ourselves, and we want to get fit again. We've both joined the gym again, which we both used to go to all the time. And like I said earlier, for me, all that just stopped. So we've joined the gym again, and I've really enjoyed that. We want to eat better, and I'm especially conscious of that here because it is easy when you're in Spain to feel like you're on holiday, and this isn't a holiday. So we need to eat better and create a new way of eating and being for a healthier lifestyle. We're also trying to be calmer in our minds, because when you're working and you have busy lives, we've always tried to get up early, get out, do the things that we have to do. Like in this instance, it would be getting out, going to the gym to get all that out the way, and like front load our day with things where we don't have to do that. We need to try and slow down, and that has been difficult. Previously, when we've been here on holiday, my thing is I'm up at 5:30 and I'm out walking, and I've really had to switch that off because I'm shattered. I'm absolutely exhausted by lunchtime, early afternoon. So what I have started doing is I still get up at 5:30, but I've actually been going back to bed, and I have now, the last couple of weeks, been able to actually fall asleep until about 8:30, and that is unheard of. I haven't done that in years and years and years. Always been an early riser. And this year is, now that we're considering early retirement, it's taking the time to make a proper plan, a plan that's not going to bite us on the bum, you know, in a couple of years because we haven't planned properly financially for early retirement. You know, there's no guarantees in life, and with investments and pensions and things like that. We're also planning, and I'll talk about this in another video when I talk more about finance, but we are planning this retirement as if we're not going to get the state pension, because apart from the fact it's being moved further and further away from us, time-wise, you're going to have to be older and older before you get it. The worry for us is in the future, it's either not going to be there at all, or it's going to be means tested and we wouldn't qualify anyway. So we're not even factoring in, and you know, that's hard to say because we had always thought we would get the state pension, both of us get the full state pension, and that would, you know, that's a huge chunk of money to have to not consider. But anyway, because we are retiring early, we do really need to make sure that the numbers stack up, not including the state pension. So basically this year has turned into an early retirement experiment, and there are two sides to it. It's how we're going to live, like if we did retire early, what would that look like on the day-to-day? Like I said, keeping fit, eating well, and trying to enjoy life. And on the more practical side of it is the finances. We need to make sure we can afford to do this and it's not going to bite us on the bum later. So I think in the next video I'm going to do UK versus Spain budgets, and also what I think, because our Spain budget for this year, I mean the budget is what it is, but I'm going to show you how I got to that. I've guesstimated what the bills are going to cost and things like that. Which is the only ones we really need to guess are the water and electricity, and they are cheaper here than in the UK. So the other bills are set in stone. Our community fees, insurance, we have to pay non-residence tax when we're here because we have a house here, but if we end up living here, then obviously we won't have to pay that. But there'll be other bills like private health insurance, things like that. So in a nutshell, I think we have three options that we need to look at. Do we move to Spain permanently and retire? That would be, I think, the cheapest option. Do we do 50-50, where we do spend half our time in the UK and half our time in Spain, which would mean we would have to downsize our family home in the UK and buy a smaller flat somewhere. Obviously that would cost more. Running two homes is, especially having a home in England, if you think about council tax, there 2 months council tax in our current house in the UK is a year's council tax here. I think our council tax here is 500 and something euros, a year. And in the UK, I think we pay 270 a month. So it's just completely different. Or the other alternative, which I don't really want to think about, is going back to work. And really, why would you if you didn't have to? Some people love their jobs, and I liked my job. It wasn't the job, but I think we're at a stage in our life now where me working away 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off isn't what we want for us. So I would have to go back to something completely different. And yeah, I don't even want to think about that. For me, that's not an option now. So anyway, if you have ever wondered about early retirement or are doing it, have done it, or are considering it, thinking, well, maybe that's something I could do, and you'd like to follow on our journey, then I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. It's free. give this video a thumbs up, and hopefully I'll see you next time.